We were told that the waters hold powers here, and that businesses have been built from it, but also destroyed by it. It has fed millions, provided a livelihood for many, and is why we have come to the Puget Sound. It's here where we heard stories of a shellfish farm that were doing things differently. A farm where employees are put first, and where they don't quit or call in sick. A farm that has fields, but no combines. But how could this be? How does a fourth-generation farm have fourth-generation employees? How do they plant millions of seeds by hand in a single day? Why do they call themselves farmers? And how does the third certified business in Washington remain profitable 14 decades later? This is what we needed to learn, and why we paid a visit to the JJ Brenner Oyster Company.
Oh, Perla. Your first time out. I taught him how to dig clams, yeah. Just follow me. So I was like 5 years old, and I don't know, my brother had me dare or something, how I did it. But anyway, I went out, got stuck in the mud, and I was up to here in mud, and the tide was coming in. And so it was just like it was coming in and started going up and up. My mom was crying, and they called my dad. My dad was living, our plant was out in Shelton on Oyster Bay. And it was about to here when they got me and pulled me out. That was scary. Oh, another big oyster. Oh, here we go. But this honker, I don't think I want it. It definitely has to be barbecued for me. Oh, you're beautiful. Well, actually, I kind of wanted to be a number of things. I wanted to be an architect, and I kind of liked marketing, but I ended up doing it. Being out here in nature, seeing stuff grow, trying to find different ways of growing things, and the variability of the tides each day makes it real kind of a fascinating way of life. It's definitely different from other type of farming.
When Bruce solidified himself as a shellfish farmer, he became the fourth generation of Brenners to do so, following in the footsteps of his great-grandpa, JJ Brenner, who opened the first oyster processing plant in Olympia, Washington, and is now widely regarded as the father of the oyster industry in the Puget Sound.
This is our first building that was in here on 4th Avenue. And here is out in the bay loading up Olympia oysters. That's probably on Mud Bay. And this is Nat Waldrop, and there you can see him building the original dike walls that were all made out of creosote.
In 1981, it became Bruce's job to lead the company and carry on that legacy.
We had some issues I helped solve for the family business, and then basically just kind of ran it with my brother for a while, and then we just didn't have see eye to eye to things, and so we parted ways and I bought him out. Well, my dad was there. He kind of like, if you need advice, I'm here. Sometimes family transitions, they still want to, micromanage. And but my dad was kind of stepped back and said, "Here it is." We'd dig the low tides, and I would go home and sleep for a few hours and take the clams and take them to the marketplace. So I'd be doing both things, and didn't get much sleep during those times.
Since Bruce's ownership, the farm has grown to over 20 employees and millions of dollars in revenue every year. Today, JJ Brenner Oyster Company consists of over 50 acres across 3 inlets of the South Puget Sound. 36 of those acres are used for growing clams, 12 acres are for oysters, and 5 acres contain their storage and shipping buildings. Due to the tides of the Puget Sound, more than 80% of the land they own spends half the day underwater.
Be on the land under the water. No one can really go on the land without permission, but then go on the water over the land.
Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control. Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control.
Soon after Bruce took over in 1981, he changed the focus of the operation from oysters to Manila clams, ultimately changing the trajectory of the farm's future.
Clams made more money, and at the time, there wasn't very many clam farms back in the 70s and 80s. I think I have some records that go back to the 70s, but it's like we did one year maybe 30 or 40,000 pounds of clams, and now we pretty much do that 30, 40, or 50,000 pounds of clams a month.
To understand the successful harvest of a Manila clam, we have to go back 18 months to the planting process, which is usually conducted by Andrew Benner, a 4th-generation employee, who works alongside his dad, Tony, the clam manager.
We're picking up 5 million clam seeds a day. Normally we do 3 to 5 million, and we try to put out around 27 to 30 million a year. That's what our goal is. And I've had a time card since I was in 8th grade here, so I've been doing this for a long time. It's nice. Hey, just pulled in.
Oh, okay. I'll be right there.
Thank you.
Give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Very expensive. It's gone up a lot in price, but so has the clam price. So I think our last batch, 5 million clam seed, was around $62,000. So it's pretty expensive.
This batch of seed cost the farm $70,000. But when planting season is all said and done, they will have spent $350,000 in total on seed alone. And Andrew told us that only half of the seeds will live long enough to be harvested.
Manila clams were brought here from Pacific oysters. They were attached to them, and they're almost like an invasive species, but everyone loves them now. Typically put seed out because we don't always get a natural catch. A natural catch would be like the clams spawning on their own, and they float around in the bay for a long time before they set, and you can't rely on a natural set on our beach. So we like to make sure that we have clams where we need them.
The Brenner's planting season ranges from late June to September when the water warms. Every single clam seed is hand-planted, or tossed, into the bay as the water is transitioning from low tide to high tide.
Once the water's come over the beach about 1 to 2 inches, we'll walk around and we'll take it and put it in 5-gallon buckets and take a handful at a time and just throw it out, just like you would put seed on anything else on the ground or anything like that. $70,000 worth of seed in 5-gallon buckets, just hucking it out there, you know, and just pretty crazy throwing that out on the ground.
Unlike most farms that plant seeds, there is no reliance on GPS here.
I just have a notepad in my office I've had since '87, where it's just a map of our beach. Use a colored pencil and just where we seed from point to point, you know, and mark that down on that date on that thing and keep track of it that way. And
once the seed hits the water and settles, it begins its 18-month journey to becoming harvested.
Put this out last Thursday, so a week ago, we put this out. So a lot of times I'll go around and check to see if it caught or see if it held really good in the spots to see how much is actually there. So I'll just brush this back a little bit. Usually they're not down very deep right now.
As the clam grows, it burrows itself into the ground. And when it approaches the harvest size of 2 to 3 inches, it rises back up to the surface of the seabed, where it's then harvested. The process of harvesting clams is a unique one, and just like many other things in farming, it's reliant on Mother Nature. But here, the tides are in control.
So low tide is when the tide is fully out. The gravitational pull from the moon sucks the water out. So at low tide, it's right now, I think today's like a -1 foot low tide. So the tide's at a -1, and then this afternoon it'll be at like a 14.5 foot high tide. So that'll swift, it'll come in, the water will rise approximately 15 feet up, and then it'll start dropping back down. The tide switches every 6 hours. So right now it's low tide. So in 6 hours it'll be high tide, and approximately 6 hours after that, it'll be low tide again. You can kind of see behind me how far the tide is out right now. There's not much water out there. And then give it, about 5-6 hours, the tide will all be almost all the way up to where my truck's at.
To us, it was astounding watching the inlet dry and then fill up every day. But for them, it's just a part of their everyday life. For reference, here is how the inlet looks from above during the low tide, and here is how it looks just a couple hours later. Meaning they have to be calculated on where and when they are harvesting during the low tides.
So right now we're on Skookum Bay, and this is our main beach we harvest clams and oysters on. This is our main plant right here too, right above us. And what they're doing is they're using their forks, raking the ground back, and just picking the right size clams.
The crew puts in 4-hour shifts a day, harvesting an estimated 3,000 pounds of clams by hand.
So the tides change every day by about 45 minutes to an hour. Like yesterday's low tide, I think, was at 6:50, and today was at 7:50.
Meaning the crew's work hours are changing every day. And winters mean the lowest tide comes in at night, forcing the crew to wear headlamps and work through the darkness.
You have to have a passion for this type of lifestyle. You have to learn to be very variable and learn to sleep when you have a chance to sleep.
It's a rough job, so we were a bit puzzled learning how long most of the team has been here for.
33 years.
12 years.
I believe working on 14 years.
26 years, going on 27.
45 years.
It's a good company to work for. They're nice people, good, respectable people. I mean, give you the shirt off their back, really,
You can make 8 hours wage in 4 hours.
With Bruce's wages being some of the highest in the Puget Sound, along with his management style, it's no surprise that his workers are loyal.
So I take care of my employees on the medical side, even dental, medical, the whole bit. On the average, I think our guys have been there for 20 years. I don't even think of it until people ask me. But yeah, they're great people, great guys.
He's helped so many people that have worked here. If somebody needs money or a draw or something, he's right there.
It is a family business, and I think that extends to his employees also. The mark of a good manager is being able to trust your people and, let them know what your expectations are, and then just let them go out and do what they need to do. I mean, you don't need to be micromanaging people if you have trust and you have good people around you.
Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control. Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control.
After the clams are pulled from the ground, they are rinsed off and hauled back to the shore at the end of the shift. They're loaded onto a trailer and brought up the hill to the Brenner's 3,000 square foot processing site.
Well, once it comes up the hill, it's brought in here, and then we cool the clams down in the ice water. By the rule is they got to be below 50 degrees when they're put in the cooler for storage.
Let's check. Okay, it's a good temp. It's what we want. Okay, there we go. We're ready to start.
The clams get hauled up a conveyor and are dumped into the custom-built trommel, where they are rinsed and sorted by size. The clams are packaged and then palletized for shipment.
Trucking company will come in and pick it up, and then they head down to the whole thing heads down to California, San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Surprisingly, many restaurants in nearby cities like Seattle with a booming seafood culture don't buy products from local farms like JJ Brenner's. They instead import from Canada to save money due to the exchange rate between the currencies, meaning JJ Brenner's export 99% of their clams and oysters out of state, while the last 1% goes to local restaurants nearby the farm. Clam sales contribute to 80% of the farm's yearly revenue. This cleaning and shipping of the clams is all overseen by Mike, who is the longest standing employee at 45 years.
Bruce and I went to school, high school together. We met in ninth grade. So I used to come out here with with him, on night, working for his dad, earning extra money back in high school days. I think we were 15, and he was driving a car at 15. His dad, I think, wouldn't drive him to school, so he had to get a car and get on his own. So we're 15-year-olds driving around in a car, and that was pretty cool. So we've been hanging out ever since.
The employee roots run deep here, and the Benners are no exception. Tony Benner, the clam manager who designed and built the custom wash plant, is a third-generation employee.
My dad and my grandpa were here, and they had a lot to do with making things good out here, I think. They helped Bruce a lot, helped Brenner's, and I was happy to kind of like step into the, the generational thing.
And now he has his son Andrew, following in his footsteps.
That's probably the most awesome thing that I've ever really had in my life. Andrew literally could have did anything he wanted. I mean, that's how I feel. Lots of parents probably feel that way about their children, but I used to kind of think, man, he could have did anything, and he's out here doing this stuff, this grunt work. I always worried, that I was maybe pushed him in to do something that maybe he wasn't really meant to do, didn't want to do, but I think he was meant to do it, and I think he was happy to be here. And that makes me really glad.
Oh man, you're gonna make me choke up. Oh, I can't do this. Dude. This is what I was afraid of, this part. Oh. I just have a lot of stuff going on with my dad right now. Yeah, my dad's going through cancer right now.
Andrew never did find words to describe what his dad means to him, but words weren't needed. Because we understood how deep their bond might be after decades of working out here together. With Andrew picking up more and more roles every day on the farm, it's safe to say that he will be ready to take on his father's role when he's ready to step down. Continuing the generations of the Benner family in the shellfish industry, and also the generations of Benners helping Brenners.
Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control. Farms of America is presented by RM43. Serious weed control.
We couldn't tell the story about JJ Brenner Oyster Company without talking about oysters. Although their role has shrunk during Bruce's tenure, they still remain integral to the farm. Oyster seed is purchased the same as clam seed, but after that, the process looks a little different.
So what we do is we get the seed at 8 millimeters and we put it in that size mesh bags. Once they get up to 2 inches, I take them out of the smaller mesh bags and put them into the larger mesh bags.
To properly separate the growing oysters, Larry must first pull the grow-out bags out of the water.
But I like to be facing into the wind. That way I don't have to maneuver it around as much. And I get my hook just placed at the right depth. And basically I can go up and pull that buoy by myself. I don't need my deckhand to do that, but He's just trying to be a little more helpful today.
These grow-out bags help protect the growing oysters from getting buried in the mud and provide an ample environment for them to grow in the inlet.
2.5 months, they've gone from 8 millimeter to over 2 inches.
Throughout the course of the next 4 months, the oysters will be screened and put into additional grow-out bags based on size. At the end of the 4 months, they are broadcast planted right over the edge of the boat and will remain free on the seafloor for the next 2 months.
They need to get beach hardened. If you get a 3-inch, 3.5-inch oyster that hasn't been on the beach, it'll be very brittle. And when it gets to the restaurant and the guys shuck the oysters, they tend to break up and you get little chunks in your oysters. So you want to let them at least be on the beach for a good month or 2 so they get beach hardened. That way no one gets a piece of shell in their mouth.
After they're hardened, they're ready to be harvested.
I call it blanket picking. We'll just drop our tubs and we'll work our way into the patch of oysters so we're not walking over them all the time. Then we take them back to the company. We'll sort through them, cull them out, and put the small ones back into tubs and broadcast them back on the beach the next day.
The oysters typically go from 8 millimeters to served on a plate at 3 inches in 10 to 16 months. But that's only if they survive the growing period.
You're a farmer, you know, and you lose. I can work on oysters for 13 months and then have them all die on me within weeks for reasons I don't know. I'm not a biologist. You know, you'll get a couple, 2, 3, 4 years really good where you don't have a lot of mortality, and then you'll get hit with a couple years in a row where you know, you get a lot of mortality, a lot of death, and so that's a lot of money gone in just a few days.
For the oysters that do make it to harvest size, they are sold alongside the clams and contribute to 20% of the farm's yearly revenue. With the increasing difficulty of growing oysters in the Pacific Northwest, it's hard to say what their future will be within the farm. And just like the future of their oyster business, the future of the farm as a whole is far from set in stone.
I thought about it. Do I sell it? Do I have it keep around for my son to get some kind of an income from?
With Bruce's son Alex pursuing a career in psychology, this could be the last generation where Brenner is involved in the JJ Brenner Oyster Company.
JJ Brenner actually was pounding boxes out, wood boxes, until he was in his 90s. So I don't know if I'll do it that long, but maybe till maybe 70, 75. I'm 66, so I think I have another, 9, 10 more years to go.
I think he'll be involved, you know, forever.
With Bruce's loyalty to his employees, the question must be asked: which one of them is going to lead JJ Brenner Oyster Company to its next phase of life? A phase that may not even have a Brenner in it. As it became time to leave this slice of paradise, we thought about what we learned over our few short days here. We learned that a farm can exist, even if it spends half the day underwater. And that treating your employees as family is good for business. And lastly, what you want to do, and what you're meant to do, might be different things.